We'll see.
Chris, long time no see.
Anthony, I have not seen you in so long. It is so great to see you today.
Your glasses are smudged. That's probably why.
Yeah, it's actually, you look so much more handsome when my glasses are smudged, so I just keep them smudged.
I get my wife a pair of glasses. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I look better too. So it's great. Anthony, in 2009, producers brought to the television a show called Shark Tank, and since then, each season, around 40,000 entrepreneurs apply to be on that show. Of that, 2,000 actually get a follow-up and get talked to. 1,000 of them go through a background check. 160 fly out to the actual studio. 120 of those actually film. 80 of those air. 40 of those end up in a handshake deals, and roughly 20 of those end up in an actual close of the deal. Even better, only 10 of those people that originally go on come back for a follow-up episode. For you people with How to Founder, Anthony has been waiting for this episode for a long time. Anthony, Mr. Anthony Franco, my cantankerous co-host, is one of the few people that have been through that entire journey. Anthony, let's take a look.
First into the tank are innovations to make working and learning easier.
I want that.
I mean, it is
a
good
the jacket. It's hand painted. I don't know if you can tell. Hand painted.
Is it really? I was going to ask you first. How did you get the jacket? Like, what's the story behind it?
Yeah, I ruined a couple dining room chairs painting this thing, but yeah, it's.
That is amazing. Also, it's amazing that you still have it. Why do you not have it hanging up in the background? You have those boxing gloves.
Well, this is actually a backup. Kevin really did take the jacket. If anybody watched the episode, the jacket came with part of the deal. And Kevin's been on a couple of like MSNBC or CNN, Fox News kind of things, wearing the jacket, talking about the deal that we made together. It was pretty fun.
That's pretty good, actually. All right, so Anthony, just briefly talk about your experience. We've got some awesome founders today that are going to be talking about how they should think about this problem. But for you, just to set up this journey, talk about what it was like for you to go through this process.
Yeah, so I never thought I was going to be on Shark Tank because my background is mostly, B2B, enterprise sales, enterprise startups, and then I started a manufacturing company that made stuff for schools. Still not a Shark Tank product. And then we uncovered the reusable sticky note, and we're like, oh, every time I talked to people about it and showed them the product, we were like, you got to take this on Shark Tank. And it kind of planted the bug. And I thought about it, and I thought about me and my girls are fans. We would watch it every Friday night, and thought, yeah, maybe I could. And that was a mistake. Not really, but it was literally 3.5 years of pain trying to get on the show, trying out multiple times, going to in-person auditions. I went to 2 in-person auditions and sent in 3 different auditions over video. And at the very last time I was rejected, I looked at my wife sitting. I remember the moment. Shauna was sitting on the couch. I looked at her and I said, "I'm going to be on Shark Tank." And she looked at me like I was a complete moron. Like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Like normal.
Yeah, normal. Like roll your eyes and say, "Yeah, right. You're going to be on Shark Tank." And 6 months later, I was flying out to the Sony lot and recorded the episode. It was.
So how do you got rejected and then accepted after that? Like that's.
Yeah, I got rejected like 5 times before I actually actually aired. For some, it's when you're out there, you talk to all the other entrepreneurs. Some of them had tried out for years and years and years and years, and others they got called by the producer and said, "Hey, do you want to come on Shark Tank?" So everybody's path into Shark Tank's a little bit different.
Gotcha. And so yours was a challenging journey to get on Shark Tank. Like the process itself, when you were there, was it fun? Was it entertaining? Was it terrible? Was it...
Yeah. Yes. So there's certain like trade secrets that I can't reveal. So I might be opaque.
I can, but I've never been on, so I'm just gonna lie. Like
there you go. I will confirm nor deny any of your lies. So so you get there about a week ahead of your filming. So if you have setup to do, they give you setup. You also do a rehearsal while you're there in front of the producers. The hardest part for me was that rehearsal. The rehearsal was very difficult. There's something, I don't know what it is, but for me, there's something about being on camera that made me light up, and that spark wasn't there when I was in the rehearsal. So I struggled a little bit in the rehearsal. I don't know why they let me on actually. So you go through the rehearsal and then you wait and you wait and you wait for your call time. And for me, day 2, day 3, day 4, they all went by. And I finally got my call at like 11 o'clock on Thursday that I'm filming at 8 a.m. on Friday morning. And yeah, you go there, they do the hair and makeup thing. I know you can't tell in my episode, but I was actually somebody actually did my hair and makeup. It looks like I just got out of bed.
Right.
Yeah.
You looked as
so
red.
That was me at my best. That was me at my best. And I filmed I was grilled for 50 minutes. They cut it, to cut it down to like 14 minutes. Everybody asked, like, does it feel true to life? And I always answered the same. I was really disappointed that they cut some pieces out, and I was really grateful they cut other pieces out. So all in all, it felt true to life, and it was a really wonderful experience. So very nerve-wracking, but wonderful experience.
Like on balance, you're glad you went through that exercise.
Oh, one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. Yeah, it was a blast.
One of my favorite Anthony Franco quotes is that it's like somebody asks you, he's like, do you like to tell people you're on Shark Tank? You're like, no, I'm too humble. I like it when they tell me I was. Like they recognize that.
That is true. I was wondering if there's like an Emmy for best reality TV guest show appearance. I was hoping maybe I could win an Emmy or something, but that never materialized.
Yeah, also if you guys want to go watch the episode, it's on YouTube. You can go find it. You scared the crap out of them because you fired off a cannon. There was theatrics. It was a good thing. And just to close the loop, you did get a deal. Just finish talking about that.
Yeah. So the person that everybody loves to hate, including me, if I'm being honest, is Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, because he's so hard on entrepreneurs. In reality, all the sharks were super genuinely nice to me and really gracious. Kevin was exceptionally so wound up striking a deal with Kevin O'Leary. I will say, so we filmed in June of 2019. We aired in May of 2020, and I closed the deal with Kevin in August of 2020. So after we aired, and he's wonderful to work with. He really is Mr. Wonderful. He loves his entrepreneurs. He's a character. Any media outreach that you want him to do, he'll do for you. Reporters love him. I'm probably not supposed to say that. I'm going to ruin his reputation, but he's actually a good guy.
But it's also like one of the things, and this is just one piece that I want to set up as far as a point of conflict between you and I. It's like, I think it's stupid. I think Shark Tank is dumb. I hate it because there are people that go on the show that are genuinely, it is their dream to do this company, and they get squashed on live television, which is, or I guess recorded television, which is, it's just painful for me to watch people that maybe they shouldn't have pitched. That's not their fault. They got sucked into this world. And so, any kind of overall, but people there, they were kind. It was a fun experience. And even though the show comes out edited in a way, was not your experience that you saw.
Well, I mean, first of all, you have to go in it with the right expectations, right? First of all, this is entertainment. This is it's not real. It's not truly reality TV. They're there to get an audience, and so you have to be entertaining. Your story has to be entertaining, and so you have to go in that with your eyes wide open. That they can edit it any way they want. Now, in most circumstances, they edit it to true to life, and I've never heard an entrepreneur say it wasn't. They edited me wrong. They'll say I don't like what they left in, but it is true to life, and they edit you in. I always look at it in three ways. They're either looking to play you. This is my words as a villain, like a bad guy, a greedy entrepreneur, a hero, right? Somebody you want to root for, and the underdog, or the fool. And I always said, like, I could go in being the villain. I'm not a villain, but if they edited me that way, I'd be okay. Everybody wants to be the hero, right? But I don't think my ego would have handled being the fool. And I think that's what everybody's fear is in going on is, are they going to cast me as the fool? Or am I going to more importantly, am I going to come across as the fool? It's dangerous.
It is a fair point. So let's move into the heart of this. So for everybody that's listening live, it's a little bit of a different format for us. It's also associated with Denver Founders. Like, hey, we want you guys to help guide the conversation, but we've brought two awesome other founders on to talk about their companies and for you to guide and give experience. But the other part of this is I would love to have is any of those universal lessons that we can connect for being a founder. What are the things that everybody can take away from that experience? So I'm going to bring on Alex and Danielle. Welcome. And we're going to start right into it, which is putting you on the hot seat because you're going to be on that. So give us, 60-second pitch of your company. I'll start left to my right. Danielle, give us a start.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Danielle. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me. My company is Good Intents. And it's punny because we are reimagining camping tents. So what we've done is we've made a camping tent that is exceptionally beautiful, comfortable, and sustainable. And we've done that through an inflatable glamping tent that is made from nearly 300 plastic bottles. It's built as part of a circular economy, and it's covered in beautiful artwork like my background. So thank you so much.
I love that. And also, as a huge fan of dad jokes, any puns is
we try and throw them everywhere into the pitch we can.
Right. That's perfect. Alex, go.
Yeah, Danielle, that was amazing. Sorry, we're doing totally different things. So I'm excited about this today. So thanks for having me. My name is Alex Sanfilippo, and I'm the founder of a company called Podmatch. And podmatch.com is a software that connects podcast guests and podcast hosts for interviews. And the whole idea is to remove the friction involved in that entire process of finding the guest or finding the host, and also messaging and emailing and finding each other's pictures, all the things that are involved in the process. We put all that into Podmatch so that you can just quickly automate the entire administrative process. And to simplify the whole thing, it really works similar to a dating app, but instead of connecting people for dates, it connects them for podcast interviews. If the dating app also scheduled the date and told you where to go and all that stuff as well. So it kind of just does all the things, and it's been a really fun platform and project.
So Anthony, I want to start off because this is a perfect mix.
It's hot. I'm going to take my jacket off. Sorry, guys.
Anthony, I got to say, man, the one shocking thing, I wasn't shocked about anything in your story except the fact that you needed makeup. I mean, you are stunning. I don't understand what the problem is.
Alex, his head is already so long.
Yeah, my goodness.
He paid me to say that. He told me like 2 hours ago. He's like, "Can you please talk about how good looking I am." So,
and so I want to start with the first question, which is there have been deals on Shark Tank that are software or platforms like Alex has gotten. Podmatch is awesome. But are the majority of the deals, are they physical products? Is that kind of part of the deal?
So the Alex is in kind of no man's land when it comes to Shark Tank. Like he could make it, he couldn't, right? Like it is B2B, but the B's that you're selling to is so vast that it could lean into consumer. It could have a broad enough audience. that it has a shot. It's not traditional, but they occasionally will like a non-traditional startup to come on. I think, Danielle, you have a very distinct advantage over Alex on that because, first of all, you have a physical product. Secondly, I've seen your website, which is not what you're supposed to do if sharks aren't supposed to know who you are. So I'm not truly a shark because I saw what you guys do, and you guys have something that would look great on set. And go through every Shark Tank pitch and listen to it. They are all puns. Like it's pun after pun after pun after pun. So you kind of have a leg up. So I would say, just starting out of the gate, this isn't a competition, so please no wagering. But Danielle does have a leg up on this. Alex, I think where I would lean in for you is, why don't you talk a little bit about your backstory? Like, so one of the things that the producers kept telling me is you have to lean on the fact that you were a teased on, picked on, stereotypical computer nerd in high school that didn't have any friends, and a true story, right? But
it's like, why are you bringing up my trauma?
Yeah.
That's
what I came here for today.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up. Like I fought, like I'm like, they don't care about my backstory. I care about my product and the company and the numbers, and they're like, no, trust us. That your backstory matters, and they were dead right. So the producers, ironically, kind of knew what they were doing on Shark Tank.
And so I think that I just want to put a pin in this for a moment because in our world of startups, like we want to talk about our companies. But the reality is in this scenario, it's the person that's there pitching, right? Is that a fair way to say it, Anthony?
It is 100% you.
Got it.
People are watching to listen to founder stories. That's it.
Yeah.
And do I want to cheer for you or cheer against you? That's it. That's the dividing line. Do I want to cheer for you or cheer against you?
And so crafting a compelling founder narrative is kind of the thing.
Yeah. So
well said.
So your backstory, Alex, your noble cause for doing this, look at the traditional story arc. Chris, this is your this is your bread and butter, right? Where's the tension in your startup journey? Focus on that tension, and it could start as early as when you were a kid, but there might be better tension for you than that. And how did you overcome adversity? That's a really good starting point when you're pitching Shark Tank producers. About you.
Let's go right into it. We're putting you guys in the hot seat. So Danielle, tell me your backstory.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I am a mechanical engineer by trade. So a little bit of that underdog female engineering story is something that I would definitely want to play up. My background is in music as well. And the creation of Good Intents really happened in a traumatic Bonnaroo experience where I woke up just like sweating, passing out in my tent. I rolled out. I think I slept like on the ground in the shade of a car because I was like, I need to sleep. It's 95 degrees out here. This is terrible. And then over the next like 12 or so years of going to music festivals and camping around Colorado, I realized one day when I was watching Cirque du Soleil, I was like, wow, why are there no beautiful tents out there? And that was kind of the moment for me. And like, we named it right then. I was talking with my husband and I was like, Good Intentions, Good Intents. And we're like, oh, good Intents. That's it. Like, got all this stuff, and started the product development for it. So, it's, for me, the cool thing about this journey too, is I've done a couple chats with like the Denver language schools. And I love getting to tell the story of prototyping and going overseas to set up the manufacturer. And then having like, after that, little girls come up to me and like ask me about their products because they were actually doing like a mini Shark Tank, which was really cute. So yeah, that's my story. I am the user for this, so I really understand the product, and my background's in about 15 years of product development. So yeah, that's where we
So
come
I
from.
want to actually kick this to you, Anthony, because it's just a neat moment to say, and you're really good at this work, and so we'll do the same thing with you, Alex, next. But in that moment, you knowing how to craft those stories, like what are the key elements? And you don't have to pitch it back unless you want to, but what are the key elements that you would play up in her story points?
So the tension, I think you nailed it, Danielle. The tension between being a mechanical engineer in a man's world, and the difficulty of that, and wanting to kind of set your own destiny out of that. Use what you're strong at and be kind of the break out of the rat race, for lack of a better term. There's something really compelling there. The fact that you really, you have a heart for other girl entrepreneurs. Like why entrepreneurship for you? Why did you want to dig? Like,
Yeah.
Where did the entrepreneurial bug hit you?
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit more into my backstory. I have ADHD as well. And I think one of the beautiful things about that is this really creative, inspired view of the world where you look at things and you're like, how do I make it better? So for me, forever, I just would write down ideas and be like, this product could be this way, or what if we did this? And I just kind of kept that story going for the many years that I was in development. And then it wasn't until this idea that I was like, this is the one. And at the time I was working a full-time job and I was trying to do it in the background. And then I had this moment with my business coach where I was like, oh, I have to quit my job to do this full time. Like if I want to launch this product on time, I need to take the swing and go for it. And I think too, just from my background too, I'm from the creative spaces. I loved doing band and theatrics in school. I was part of Destination Imagination when I was growing up, or Odyssey of the Mind. It's one of the two that usually. So I just really love creating, and I really love being creative. So I think for me, something about entrepreneurship has really that passion, creativity, and then I think the urgency to get things done is really helpful for me too. So I'm always just kind of overwhelming myself with new projects.
I'm missing a little bit the you need the heart tug.
Okay.
You need a heart tug. And I don't know what that is for you, but you need something. Yep. This is not the word, but the word that comes to mind is pity. You want them to feel a little sad for you that you had to go through that.
Okay.
And it has to be authentic and genuine. You can't make, if it's not there, it's not there, right?
Yeah.
But you, and that's fine. But that kind of again, you want them to cheer for you. You don't cheer for somebody. If you look at a movie, movies always start the same arc. There's this person that's in this really crappy situation. They've gotten themselves in a really bad situation. You almost feel bad for them, and they climb their way out of it. That's the story you want to tell. You want to tell how you climbed your way out of adversity. Is how you get cast as the underdog, as the hero, right?
The only other question I have, and I'll let you think about it as we go to Alex, and I'll think about it, and we can see if we can solve it together. But which is, I think the underdog is showing up as the only female, in one of four girls in the engineering space, and constantly being the one that has been overlooked, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then you're partying at Bonnaroo and get dehydrated. It's like the strand between those two things. Just I haven't connected them yet. So just think about how you would connect.
But there's got to be a story about some jackass male engineer that put you in your place, that inspired you. I need to get out of that, right? That think of a story like that, right?
Yeah.
I was just saying. So the other thing is, when you show up at music festivals, usually it's jackass dudes that are camping, and so it's those. That's not made. So maybe that's all right.
Yeah.
Alex, same question. Let's hear your backstory. So you've gotten the benefit of hearing Danielle's. So now you give us that pitch. What is your founder story that you think can be really compelling here?
Yeah, Danielle, thanks for going first. I didn't, I guess, polite, but I'm like, wow, I got all my notes. I'm like, don't say what Danielle said here. I'm taking a lot of notes, and I'm actually, before I even share that, like, I'll jump into it, but like, I can say with confidence, based off what we're talking about so far, like, Danielle if it was between the two of us, it's a very easy choice that she's the right choice for this type of thing, because you have like a real story that's like super interesting to people. Not that mine's not interesting, but like, I don't know if I even have the drama. Like, so for me, I got into podcasting as a side hustle. I'll try to add drama here. I was working a job that went public. So it was like a privately owned company that went public. I was on the C-suite of this big company, and I just decided I kind of felt like a cog in the system. And I was like, man, I want to kind of find a way out. So I started doing some side hustles and realized I wasn't great at them. Then I found podcasting, and I used that as a host to learn how to podcast, but also how to start a business, right? Like, I wanted to really figure that out. So I jumped into this space, and I quickly realized there was a problem. It's that people were having trouble finding the right guests for their shows, or they were having trouble finding the right shows to be a guest on. And I just committed to solving that problem. And that's ultimately what led me to exit big corporate, where I, again, kind of felt like I lost my purpose a little bit, and step into full-time entrepreneurship, serving podcasters that I saw really had a need. And I became very passionate about serving that group of people.
All right. So that's excellent. And so couple of notes on that.
And
so
super boring compared to Danielle.
It's not necessarily. So it's hard to feel sad for a C-suite person that's just gone through an IPO, right?
Right. It just went public.
But
Right?
so I tweak that a little. Again, you don't want to lie, you don't want to tell, you don't want to fabricate something. But let's just say that the corporate environment wasn't for you. And there's a story there. There's a story around the fact that you're going for that odd duck. I was an odd duck in this company of suits and ties, and I just had this passion for podcasting. That's your lead in. It's like I'm a fish out of water. I'm an odd duck, a fish out of water. I don't belong. It's that tension of I don't belong here that has something valuable to it. And then the other piece, there also may be I'm going to screw this up. I'm using like thinking out loud here, but there's something about running a podcast is hard, and it's like the new media, or it's democratization of information that makes it so powerful. There's something very powerful about podcasts, but it's really hard for people to get started in the space, and you make that easier. So almost the underdog is your customer. So you connect that underdog piece to who you're serving, and you just happen to have a passion for it as well. And you're solving your own pain.
The thread that I would pull on here is that, most of us ended up in corporate America, and we felt like we were odd, and we felt like we were good. Like you didn't fit in, and had this deep desire, this deep passion to go out in my own way, to start my own thing, to have that freedom of passion and purpose that comes with starting your own company. But I didn't know where to start. And that's when I discovered podcasting. And podcasting became my guide. It became my friend. It became how I learned about how to go do this incredible job. And along the way, not only did I figure out that it was something that could teach me, but it was something that I knew could help other people along this journey.
Yeah, if I can,
gives a really nice purpose.
If I can, on the screen. Oh, this is funny. That's the point I was literally about to go into that. I don't know if you guys. Sorry, I'm taking over. Go ahead.
Major, great comment. We just put it on. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So the point when I got into podcasting, started like speaking and stuff like that, the events, because my show did really well, and I'm thankful for that. So give me the opportunity to start speaking. What I really immediately found that really discouraged me is that I'd meet people at these conferences every year. I'd go to them, and they'd be there. They'd be super excited, super passionate, like can't wait to get their message out to the world. And podcasting is, like you said, a super unique way to do that. And so I was like happy for them. They had like something real. And the next year they wouldn't be there. And I'd message them on social media, where you at? And they're like, oh, I quit. And it was always like oh man, like when I talked to you, you were going to change the world. Like what happened? And it's always, it got too difficult. I couldn't find the right people to collaborate with. It was always like And that's what put a fire in me, was to like, okay, I don't know what the problem is I'm going to solve, but I need to figure out what the thing is that's making everyone quit. I need to go after that. And so like, if there's a play to do it that way, that's legitimately like still to this day, what gets me up in the morning to do the work that I do is not to like grow a bigger software company. It's to actually serve the people that I know maybe without the tool that we've created won't be in it tomorrow. But if we can help them continue and impact the world, I think it ultimately makes it a better place because of how unique podcasting is as a medium.
I think it's a really interesting point. All right, I'm gonna move on to kind of the next question, Anthony, and then I'm gonna put it back to y'all to do this. And really, thanks for the comments, like good stuff, and please keep them coming. And also, if you guys would like to, maybe craft a pitch that and get the same level of feedback, please do just put it into the comments of wherever you're listening. But Anthony, we as founders, we do the thing where we show up and we want to talk about our business, and we talk about the features, and we talk about our audience, and we do all the mechanical things of a pitch like we would be pitching to investors. But this is not investors. And so I hear you, which is the strength of your pitch has to be this personal narrative and the emotional bond that you're building with the audience. But you also got to talk about the business. How do you do that? And how do you do that in a way? Are you constantly trying to refer back to the story? And what are the metrics that you had to actually present on screen versus what got used, et cetera?
Yeah, so founder pitches. If you're doing traditional pitch decks, it's problem, solution, markets, blah 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 blah. Right? That is stuff that you save for the questions. That's not part of your initial pitch. It's not what you talk to when you're pitching producers. It comes down to two things: founder story, and you need to find that underdog hook, and impact. What impact is your product having? That's the two hooks. For me, what I did, the final thing that brought me over the edge is, so we made reusable sticky notes and a 6-pack. The 6-pack replaced a huge trash can full of paper sticky notes. So I went live to a pitch event and rolled in this huge 50-gallon trash can that I pulled bag after bag after bag of used paper sticky notes out. And I said, this replaces this. And it was an environmental story, and it was a cost saving story, right? But it was a visual, instant hit, impactful way of telling the story of what problem we're solving, but also what impact that problem is having for our buyers, for the planet, for other entrepreneurs, whatever the story is. So you both have, I think actually, Alex, has a better impact story, at least from what I've heard, than Danielle, unless I haven't, I mean,
well,
unless I missed something. Yeah.
A chance. So
yeah, you're right. So far.
We've got the two components, and the first one we've talked about is the founder story and the why, the passion, the drive, and then Anthony, my words, but the connection to solving the problem. And then you said, okay, you've taken that passion, enthusiasm, energy to go solve a problem. And if you solve that problem, the impact of it would be what, right? And Danielle, like, I actually disagree. You have, I think, 4 or 5 different tacks that you could take, including the environmental tack, et cetera. So just without any pressure, not like you're pitching, just talk me through what you think the impact of your company is, and then maybe even your thoughts about how you would craft that impact portion of your story.
Yeah. Me first. Sorry, was that?
Yeah, you go first.
Awesome. Okay, because there's a few different hooks that I'm hearing here on like our impact. So the first, I wanted to speak back to that point of like the female founder. Why did I end up in this space? There was this moment at Denver Startup Week when I was first creating this idea in this company, where there was a group of women and we were all talking together about our businesses, and a guy walked up to us and he asked, why are we doing what we're doing? And we had different reasons: freedom, finances, whatever that reason was that we were founding the company. And the response was, well, why don't you do, if you want to get rich, why don't you do it the old fashioned way? Like, what's that? And he's like, marry into it.
And that person was named Anthony Franco.
Holy, marry into it.
Yeah. So that moment has always stuck with me, and it's just like the fire that really keeps me going sometimes. So that's like definitely one of like the the hooks there, but our company has a huge sustainability mission as well. So I was just thinking about, like, you walked in with those sticky notes. If I walked in with like 300 plastic bottles all crushed up to show how we turn that into a tent, and create our materials that way through like that supply chain. And we've also crafted our tent in a modular way so that it is something that is designed to grow with you. We have a lifetime guarantee on the airframe, which has gone extensive testing. A lot of people are worried about inflatables, but we've done puncture, fire, abrasion, wind, the whole gambit. But with that, we want people to evolve their ecosystem with us. So there's a repair kit that ships with us, similar to Patagonia. We want you to keep your gear in the game. And, you know, as you say in a few years, 10 years, you're like, I don't want this style anymore, or it's kind of, you know, ripped and patched and I want something new, you could swap out your canopy and keep the rest of your tent. So it's built to be modular and sustainable. And then our plan too is to have like a remix program. So if you did want to swap out your art, or you wanted to upgrade to our new lighter frame, you could swap those out and then we would resell it, kind of like the Smelly Mellies.
I think there's one point that I just strand again, because maybe I was looking for a strand between purpose and passion and product. And then Anthony, I want to get your take on this, whether I'm on the right track here, which is part of your purpose and mission has been about accessibility. It's about creating a place where people can feel comfortable going outdoors or to music festivals and be in outdoor spaces in an environment that doesn't feel like a traditional Boy Scout hauling gigantic stuff. Is that fair? Is it a fair statement, or am I grasping too much?
No, that the accessibility is important, because for me, like, I touched a bit on mental health at one point too, but there are huge benefits for mental health to get out into nature. So we want to make nature more accessible to people as well, because that nature RX is a real thing. And then just kind of touching on the accessibility of like the female side of it, you know, there are things about this tent that it is a tent designed by a woman engineer. Like, there's a closet in the back, there's inflatable shelving. You know, when I was going back and forth with my lead designer, you know, he was like, oh, we should take this hook out on the inside of them. It has a magnetic hinge door. And I was like, oh, as a woman, I want to be able to not have to zip my whole tent up, just use the magnets, but have a secure latch so that when I'm changing, I don't feel exposed or uncomfortable. So
I mean, I think that's to me, that's the connective tissue between those two things. Anthony, what do you think? Is that
is saying you make tents for girls a stretch?
So it's funny because we're not 50-50, we're like 64, you know, but it is, I like to say it's a tent engineered by a lady, but we are hitting both audiences. So
yeah,
kind of a stretch.
Yeah, right. So I was gonna guess that, because you also don't want to alienate men, right? Because so maybe there's something about looking good. There's something about vanity here a little bit, like not the all the way vanity, but the fact that you want to go camping and you want to look good doing it, that and feel safe and cool. And so but that's not really about impact. We're talking about features. I think you nailed on all I think you nailed on all the impact. The impact stuff you mentioned are all good. They're just strings you can pull on. Yeah.
There's something very real about being outside and that letting people feel like that they're empowered to do that.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know the right wording yet, but I love that as a foundational concept.
Well, you can also, the contrast for you, right? I think there's a really good contrast to be drawn here. This is what I used to have to go camping in, and this is what I get to go camping in. That contrast is really intriguing as well. There can almost be a really neat reveal on air. Like if you could figure a way where you could just throw your tent on top of another ugly old tent. There's a really good contrast story here.
Or ask the sharks to set up the tent, and then while you set up yours.
Well, so actually, that's something I've thought about, because you know the idea for the pitch is I can actually unroll this tent, press a button on the pump and then walk away and it'll set itself up. So like that could be happening in the background while I give a pitch or during like the video.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And just to like thinking through, you know, the vanity in nature, where that closet comes into, like there's hunters that have a lot of gear. You know, when you go to music festivals, it is this playground where the whole point of it is to be you and be yourself. So one of our taglines is to be beautiful, because we want people to be able to go to these events and feel like they can express their true identities outside of the world that we live in, this 9 to 5. Like go outside, go play. There's something very childlike about getting to go camping and go to festivals and travel the world for free.
I think one of the challenges for you is that it's there, you've got multiple avenues that you can talk about. So it's like you've got the environmental impact, you've got the accessibility impact, you've got the bringing new people into outdoor spaces that didn't feel like they belonged there. There's some really strong themes there. Alex, let's go to you. Talk to me about impact. What you've been listening to this intently. How would you position that?
Yeah. So to me, podcasting, as we've already expressed here, it's a unique medium, right? It gives you access to people that you'd otherwise not have access to at a global scale. And it's kind of whatever you make of it as the host and as the guest as well. And to me, the impact we're making is helping put those right people together so they can get these conversations out to the world. And so I don't know the exact number off the top of my head right now, but I know over 100,000 podcast episodes have been released by just our members that are active on the platform right now. And to me, that's like huge. I mean, it's 100,000 conversations that could potentially each change somebody's life. Like that has like big long tail effect. That's legacy building stuff. And so to me, that's the big thing. And I could go into how we've done like specific things on the platform to help it make sure it really is good for everybody who uses it and stuff like that. But I think that's the big point for me is the fact that it's really positioned to help get those conversations into the world.
I think, Anthony, what I'm hearing there is an empowerment, which is that we believe every person on the planet has unique skills, abilities, talents, and they need to share that with the world. But the idea of how to do that has been difficult. It's hard to be able to take this from idea. And what is the thing and the biggest barrier in the way is being able to easily book guests and people to be on and create that amazing content. And we've solved that problem. Is that too much of a reach, Anthony? What do you think?
No, I think there's my intuition is saying, so I'm conflicted on this because my intuition is saying going a lot deeper and being a little even more like this is podcasting is free speech materialized, right? That's really what it is. Mm-hmm. And there's something very powerful there, but you also have to consider the fact that these producers
you have to consider that Anthony and I started our own podcast. I mean, does he want that free speech?
No. The but is
the dark side of this right this moment.
No, the reason why you can't go really hard at that is because you're really talking about ABC's competition. I mean, fundamentally, you got to be careful about how hard you go at that because the producers don't want you to mention Joe Rogan. Right. They don't want you to mention Tucker Carlson or any of the podcasters because you're really taking listenership away from ABC. So you've got to just be very careful about how you thread that needle. But I do believe you can do it without threatening ABC.
It's like, think about all the things, and I mean, I see it all the time, these podcasts that teach you to do weird and obscure things that I would never have had the ability to do. They do not teach you that in the encyclopedia. And you find these weird, awesome podcasts that teach you to do the coolest stuff or discuss these weird, esoteric things that people get to share in this meeting.
You just brought up a great hook, Chris.
I'm glad I could provide some value.
No, so Alex, your hook may be like find the 4 most odd, duck, sideways, weird how-to podcasts, and say,
you sure about that?
and say
how to founder would be number 1.
Did you know there's a pod? Well, I mean, it's like, did you know there was a podcast out there that did this? Did you know you could learn how to do this? Did you know how it all comes down to podcasting? There's an interesting opening put a smile on somebody's face, because that is really bizarre. Like, there's a podcast out there for how to paint your toenails correctly. Like, that's not it. There's things that are even more bizarre that are still PG.
That's key. PG. I mean, here's a great example. There's
really
a guy who has a podcast in our community. He has a podcast for truckers, and he's teaching them how to get better insurance policies for themselves so they can be more profitable. Like, that's there will never be a TV show about that.
Yeah, but that's also really boring. But you got to find something. You've got to find. I mean, I'm sure it's great for truckers, but you've got to find something that would be like, I didn't even know that was a thing, kind of thing. You know, it's like, I didn't even know that people turn seashells into lampshades. I didn't know that. Like, and there's a whole podcast around it, something like
Anthony,
that.
Actually, the Trucker podcast has 3 times the amount of viewers that we do. Apparently, it's not. Apparently, what we're saying.
My nephew has 3 times the amount of viewers that we have. Like,
I wanted to jump in there too, because like the learning aspect of it, I think, is huge for me. So my business coach has a podcast called Sincerely Future You, and her podcast is all about empowering women to be entrepreneurs. So when I need to listen to 30 minutes of a pump up playlist before I go on a podcast, or I'm taking an investor meeting, I think you can use these podcasts to educate yourself and empower yourself. There's a lot of really inspiring content too.
Cool. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, information, inspiration, community. We're creating a sense of community where there was none before.
yes, it's great.
You could just use us as the counterpoint. And then occasionally we get it wrong. And occasionally people things like that. Okay, so I think that we've got it, Anthony. So the first part really is about the personal hook, and then it's about, with that hook, with that passion, that drive, you're creating positive impact in the world. What else is there? Is because in just format wise, when you submit this via the Shark Tank website, is that where you go? How do you?
Next question is, how do you pitch? Right? Where do you audition? You are going to have a lot more luck finding a live audition and going there. If you want to get on Shark Tank, go to a live audition. And they travel the country. So, I went to one in Vegas and I went to one here in Denver, and you get a lot more engagement. It's in person, right? It's just better in person. You can submit a video, but the video has to be 10 times over the top than you do in person. You got to be over the top in person, but you got to be way over the top in video. So I would highly recommend, and there's nothing that says you shouldn't do both. Submit something online, then go to a live audition, then submit something online. It took me 5 times. I've heard other people say they tried out 12 times before they got on. And again, other people, first time they were on. So just be persistent about it. And then, Chris, you asked me, so I think all you need are those 2 things. The goal is to get to film, right? Your goal is to get invited to go film. So the biggest obstacle is getting to the first 2,000. 40,000 people show up. Your goal should be get to the 2,000. Once you get to the 2,000, call me. I'll help you get to the next. I'll help you get to the next 1,000. But your goal should just ultimately get to the first 2,000, where they're talking to you and they want to understand your business a little bit more. They want to get to know you. They want to understand your personality. That's all about putting a smile on their face and having fun with it, not taking everything so seriously. Also know that you have to pass a very strict background check. So if you've ever had a if you've ever run a methamphetamine lab out of your basement, it's probably not going to work.
I mean, this is the skeletons you must have buried.
Well, you believe that my real name is Anthony Franco. So your first goal, have your background, have your story and the impact story down to get to the first 2,000. And then it's about refining and knowing your numbers and really knowing your pitch. Then what happens is you switch into crafting a literal scripted pitch. You want to go in with somewhat of a scripted pitch, but it will totally change once you get assigned a producer. And once you're signed to producer, doesn't mean you're even flying out. But the producer will help you refine that pitch. Then they'll have you do a true audition video where you audition in front of a camera, and then hopefully you get flown out. And then it's once you're flown out, now it was really where you needed your homework. You need to know the numbers of your business. You need to know the back and forth. You need to know who your customers are. You need to be prepared for all the questions that you've ever seen asked on Shark Tank. They're likely only going to ask you 2% of them, but you need to have the background for all of them.
So we're going to end this by allowing you guys to pitch one more time back to us, and we'll ask you to say, now what would you've learned? How would you craft it? And again, we're not putting you on the spot where it has to be perfect, but looking for those elements. So giving you guys just a couple minutes warning as I ask Anthony these follow-up questions, which is, so the steps are, you then move into the crafted part of the pitch. The crafted part of the pitch that you see in Shark Tank, where everybody memorizes their lines, has the funny laugh lines, that always seems a little bit forced to me. That is not something you did until you were actually there, right? Like that's not, because we've seen people pitch with that exact same memorization, and it feels kind of forced. They do want you to, the initial piece of that 30-second or 45-second pitch is scripted. Now, they don't force you to use the script, right? It's highly recommended, but they never tell you what to say ever. But they're really good Sherpas on what pitches quote work for Shark Tank pitches. So I would say definitely respect the producers and what they tell you. And then I do want to say something about setting your expectations before we get into Danielle and Alex. So let's say you're successful. You've gotten to the 2,000. Now you're on site. You've actually aired. You actually are walking down that hallway to go pitch the Sharks. First thing you should know is a Shark Tank deal doesn't change your life and it doesn't change your business. You get a Shark Tank bump. But if you're going there to save your business, don't go, because it's not going to happen. It doesn't save your business. The second thing is, if you think that Kevin O'Leary or Barbara or Lori or Damon are going to really lean in and become operational to fix the things that are broken in your business, you're going in with the wrong expectations. The exact right expectations are that you're going to get a little bit of money on a really crappy valuation in exchange for great social reach. And I did the math on this. The social reach is worth the crappy valuation. It's definitely worth it. So you have to go in setting your expectations of what the value is of having a shark evangelize your business on their social channels and on other Shark Tank episodes. Then say, hey, I've got this company, Danielle, my founder, she did this, and this is why I think your idea is a bad one and Danielle's was a good one. Like you want that continued mention over and over again. So your expectations shouldn't be, I'm going to get VC valuations and they should value my business just like my Series A round. That's not it. You're doing it for the social reach. Anyway, Chris, that's all I've got. Point. I want to transition, but I just want to ask you just a quick question, because we've had this conversation before, so a little bit of insider. But you were walking down that hall. What were you thinking, feeling as you were walking?
Don't throw up. Don't throw up. Don't throw up. Everybody always asks, weren't you scared of pitching in front of 5 billionaires? And it's like, no, I was scared of pitching in front of tens of millions of people.
Yeah, and screwing it up and being the fool.
The fool, yeah.
There was one moment you told me about, which is where you just were like, look, I just got to be myself. Like I've got to be super authentic.
Yeah, that's. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for reminding me that. So yeah, if you, like I said, if you're ever called to fly out to film on Shark Tank, just reach out to me. I'll walk you through what it's like and how to kind of mentally prepare for it. But I was on the phone with a friend of mine, talking about what I was about to do. And he was, look, you're not supposed to do this, but he was under NDA. He's one of my advisors for the business, so it was okay to do it in this circumstance. And he said, I just can't be, I don't want to be played the fool. And he said, Anthony, we know you. You're goofy. If you come across goofy, we're going to be like, yeah, that's Anthony. We love you anyway. It doesn't matter. Just go out and be yourself. It was the best advice that I could have ever gotten, was to get that advice. It's just relax, be authentic. And I really needed to hear that.
It's funny because he called me first and I told him, run! Run! And he called me. Anyway, all right. So knowing what you know, and again, no, this is not pressure cooker, but just give me the refined pitch or storyline, and we'll go Danielle and Alex, just since we've been following that format.
Okay, awesome. All right, to set the stage a little bit, imagine I just rolled out this tent and I'm pressing a button and then it's just setting itself up behind me while I do this, and I'm not touching it at all. So I think my refined pitch is leaning into how important getting outside and exploring nature is, and how important our planet is. So kind of leading into the impact of that. So for Good Intents, we are reimagining camping to be exceptionally beautiful, comfortable, and sustainable for your life, with inflatable glamping tents that aren't just pretty, they're tough too. It's a luxury tent that inflates with the press of a button, so that you can show up in the middle of the night by yourself anywhere that you want to in the world and get your slice of nature, as easy as can be. It's a luxury tent that has a magnetic hinge door, has an inflatable shelf and a closet in the back, beautiful expansive views, so that you can have a home away from home that is easy to set up, sustainable, and built to last. And it's beautiful as well. So we want you to be able to explore more, go adventure, get out there and live your life, get outside your comfort zone, but while being comfortable, and really to just be your best self.
I think that was strong. I mean, Anthony, Alex, what do you guys think? I thought that was a really nice way to frame it.
You don't have to be uncomfortable to get out of your comfort zone. I think that's a really, really nice way of putting it. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
And it's like I want to be like, well, what about you? What about your founder story? But I think that can come out. Like,
that happens next. That happens next. Yeah.
But I love the fact that you led with a strong impact. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, I couldn't squish it all together in there.
All right, I got to set the stage like Danielle did. I've got Anthony behind me in his jacket. And if we don't get a deal, he's taking Kevin's jacket back. He's walking like, I know you have it with you. Give me the jacket right now. We're leaving. So I don't know what you're doing in the background, but you're going to be there doing something.
Just like this the whole time.
Just back in the corner, like against the wall, like just out of the shot, and they keep on being like panning over. I think it'd be great. So I think the way that that I reposition this would be going into, first off, I was a corporate guy, which is a really common story, right? I was in a job that I felt like I had capped out, and it wasn't using my creativity anymore. And me, like tens of thousands, if not millions of other people, just kind of feel like we're stuck there. And that's when I discovered podcasting. And when I started podcasting, I found a passion and a purpose and a desire to help others with what I knew and what I had learned. And I found this reignited passion for doing things that helps people. Even though in my job I was doing that, I just didn't feel like it was really fulfilling anymore. And this became that thing. And when I started getting in the community, I met other podcasters like that. And I was like, man, this is the people I want to serve. But I quickly discovered that they don't last. They churn really fast. I'd meet a whole group of podcasters, and then next month, next year, they're all gone. It's different people. And I felt like these people had this ignited fire that got put out because they felt like they weren't equipped to be able to do it. And that's where Podmatch came into play, was to help remove some of the friction involved so that you could successfully podcast, so that you could actually find those right guests that you could bring on your show, that you could then build an impactful story together to be able to really serve people. And so the idea of Podmatch just came from that whole idea of, let's remove this friction and put the right guest and host together as fast as possible so they can in turn really serve the world and help it become a better place, while at the same time being able to just be their creative selves in a way that, again, brings joy to their own lives.
Anthony, I like Alex. I think that was 1 million times better. Like I
you.
thought it was way.
I've been taking notes. So yeah, thank you.
Anthony, what do you think?
There's it definitely better, but there's something, and Alex, I wish I could articulate it well for you. There's a layer deeper.
Yeah. I know it. I think it's going to take me a little bit to get to that, but you're 100% right. I haven't found it yet, but
the thing that comes to mind is it's like I'm thinking in taglines, which you shouldn't do, but it's like what's your thing, right? Everybody has their thing. And we help them bring their thing to the world. Mm-hmm. It's like it's the thing. It's the thing that makes you special. It's the thing that makes you unique. It's the thing that you're passionate about. Like there's something there that's deeper that that has that can have a huge impact not only on the individual but for the world too.
My brain goes to this weird visual that I have. It just keeps popping up, which is you guys have microphones in front of you that are the podcasters' microphones. What if you had a giant one of those on stage, but it was made up of little cubes of every one of the podcasters that are on your episode, and every one of those things that you built this Lego thing with is like every one of these people share a passion, and they want to share that passion with the world. And we make it easier to do that. And, this one is Anthony and Chris. Don't pay attention to that. But it's this idea that it's building this community of knowledge, wisdom, and people have this empowerment to share their love and expertise with the world. This has been really actually interesting. I still believe, I'm a little bit more believing that it's actually valuable to go on Shark Tank now, Anthony. I'm still a little skeptical. I still think it's a terrible idea.
Why? So Chris, be the voice of reason. Why shouldn't you try out for Shark Tank?
It's because at the end of this, you're selling a portion of your incredible hard work for a tiny fraction of equity. The only Faustian bargain, Anthony, that you can make there is the publicity. And if you've done the math, I trust you. Like the publicity there is like you're getting this thing out into the world in this format. But there is a Faustian bargain, which is you're going to sit on live TV and be grilled by Mark Cuban. That dude's a good investor. He knows what he's doing. He's going to ask hard questions of you. And those hard questions are maybe, televised. If I had to, when I pitched my first company in front of investors, I wouldn't want that to have been video. Like I didn't, do as well. So I just think it's not for everybody. And I think that's
true.
Very clear.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
If the best thing, when are you ready for Shark Tank? When you found product market fit, when you have more than your family telling you have a good idea.
Yeah.
At the very least, you're not going to look foolish because you have traction, right? Sharks never argue traction.
Right.
Yes. Sharks are never going to make you look like a fool if you have traction.
I think one of the biggest mistakes, and this is, and it's not the fault of founders, and this is the reason why I struggle with this, which is they go into Shark Tank and they're just too damn early.
Yes.
They just don't have the traction, and then they get ripped apart because they're like, dude, you have 2 customers. I'm not investing in a company that has 2 customers. That's real. Like you go to any investor, they give you the same feedback. Mm-hmm. It's not their fault that they were able to get on Shark Tank with only 2 customers, but have a business, and know that it's a marketing thing for your business. And if it's
remember, do you guys remember the pitch Squatty Potty?
Yes. I think
do you remember that?
Yeah.
The Squatty Potty, right? And they were making fun of them. And then they said, well, what was your revenue last year? They said 50 million. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. and everything changed. Now you don't need to go 50 million, but if you're in the 7 figures, or high 6 figures, that's a lot of traction for Shark Tank. A lot of traction.
Yeah. I think maybe the main thing I would just stress is just understand it's a bargain, right? This is not a panacea. And Anthony, you said it, you still had to go wake up the next morning and go build your company. It wasn't Willy Wonka's golden ticket.
No.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to do a quick speed round, Anthony?
Let's go for it. Are they good questions?
I think they're pretty good questions.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so guys, hang with us. We're gonna do a quick speed round.
Oh, wait. Sorry, Chris. I gotta. Here we go. That's gonna be the running joke. I'm gonna be slow to start the speed round. Yeah.
I mean, again, maybe we'll bring up our podcast out. Yeah.
Amazing.
All right, Anthony, for the speed round, better to have perfect numbers or a perfect story?
Story.
Apply early in business or wait for traction?
Traction.
Rehearse specific answers or practice improving?
How the hell do you practice improv? How do you do that? I would instead of practicing improving, find some founder friends that you trust and have them grill you and answer questions. Get used to answering questions live. Go on podcasts. Go to Podmatch. Sign up to be a guest on podcasts and practice over and over and over again.
Focus on one shark that you believe matches your skill set, or should you just pitch all of them?
Pitch all of them. Yeah, the least likely shark I thought I was going to get, the one I was not focusing on was Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah,
I was like, there's no way he's gonna like this business, and he was the one that really loved it. So,
prioritize the valuation in that negotiation, or just know you're going to get beat up and call it a strategic partnership.
This is a tricky dance, right? So, you need to have your bottom and your top, right? You will need to have your ideal, which you're never going to get, and the number that you're going to settle for, and you just don't want to go below that number you're going to settle for unless they present you something you had never considered, and that does happen. And you definitely do not want to take the first offer that's offered you. You want to look. They're investing in a business owner that needs to have some negotiation skills. Mm-hmm. So if you just cave on the first offer, if you can show that you can negotiate with a smile on your face, you have a huge advantage over most entrepreneurs that appear on Shark Tank.
Well, part of the thing on Shark Tank, though, is that one person will be like, take it or leave it, 2 minutes. If you don't take it, I'm out. And you're trying to get other people interested. Is that
then poke fun at him? Say, Kevin, what founder? Like, then you just call him out on it. Like, wait a minute, you want a founder that's going to cave into that kind of negotiation tactic? Why would you invest in a founder that did that?
That's pretty good advice. All right, deep dive. I've got a few good ones. Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath is always good. Storytelling with Data, which is Cole Newsom-Bauer Knaflick. Sorry, whoever that is. There's a good podcast called Pitching to the Masses, and it was the How I Built This with Guy Raz. Anything else, Anthony? Any of the other ones that you use to prep?
Just watch Shark Tank episodes.
That's a pretty good one.
I literally watched every Shark Tank episode that ever aired for 13 seasons and took notes on who did what questions were asked. Like, if you're going to go on national TV in front of millions of people, you kind of have to prep like at that level.
And that explains a lot about Anthony, doesn't it, folks? Just spent a year and a half in his basement just being a Shark Tank.
And now I can't watch him anymore. I have PTSD. I can't watch him. Even though it was a good result, I can't watch Shark Tank anymore.
Your Post-it notes for that when you were taking your notes?
No, it was Google Sheet. It was this huge Google Sheet that I had.
Yeah, that was pre-AI, so you couldn't even just throw it. You probably actually had to read your own notes. That's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely true.
So, question for both of you. Danielle, how can we find out more information about you and any resources that you'd recommend to the community? Anything that you use?
Yeah, so if you want to find out more about Good Intents, please come visit us, goodintentsco.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well. And we've got some exciting stuff coming this year with new launches and new art and Kickstarters and lots of fun stuff. So come follow along. And resources wise, I just want to shout out again. I really do. I love listening to podcasts to learn. So I want to shout out that Sincerely Future You podcast for any female.
Oh, no. We lost her.
I feel like she
Dang
was
it.
just
I
about
kicked her
to
off.
shut
She
us
ran
down.
out of time, guys. I don't have, just for anyone listening or watching, I didn't do that. I have no way of doing that.
Go down. Oh, she's
just
back. She's
mentioning
back. Hold on, she's back. She's back. Future
My
you were.
Sincerely, future you. And then I clicked back on my computer and I was like, no, my pod.
It was actually like, it was such a great cliffhanger because I was going to say, hey, look, and I'm pretty sure she was about to be like, I love listening to How to Founder too, but
Yeah. That's, you missed it, right? When I went back.
Exactly right. Can't go back.
Sorry.
There's all kinds of technical difficulties. Awesome, Danielle. Thank you so much for joining us. I really loved hearing about your business, and it was really good to connect. So, Alex, again, second time, thank you so much for coming back. Where can we learn about you? Where can we learn about Podmatch? And any recommendations that you have?
Yeah. Everything I do is at podmatch.com/free. So if anyone's listening, watching, who's like, oh, I'm actually interested in this podcasting thing on either side of the microphone, podmatch.com/free is basically it's just some quick ideas for being a podcast guest, being a better podcast guest, being a podcast host, being a better podcast host. Either side of the microphone is just going to give you some ideas.
I didn't know I was supposed to use the other side of the microphone.
I didn't. I saw him doing it. I was trying.
Man, is that what that was, Anthony? I was like wondering what was going on. If you're a guest or a host, it's again podmatch.com/free. I mean, y'all are giving podcast recommendations. For me, I really like to listen to podcasts to learn how to be a better interviewer. And so I've really, really enjoyed the Jordan Harbinger show. I just think he does a really good job making a really engaging narrative with an interview conversation. I don't find that's always the easiest thing to do. So Jordan Harbinger show, I think he's a really good podcaster. I'm always kind of learning. So right now, that's the one.
Awesome. And Anthony, I'm going to hand it to you, but my only request for anybody listening, send us a note. Let us know if this format works out. I thought it was interesting that we were trying to do some more informative content and, bringing on more guests is kind of a workshop type thing. Anthony, what do we have coming up and how can people connect with us?
So we're talking about speeding up your decision-making tomorrow morning with somebody from, I think he's Dutch. I think he's a Dutch entrepreneur. It starts with a D. So it's Dutch or Denmark or something like that.
Right.
I also want to say, Danielle and Alex, you both have really great businesses. Whether or not you get on Shark Tank, whether or not you decide to try out, Alex, we're a customer, so we're fans already. We're already paying you to be on the podcast. So actually, I did pay you to say that I was good looking.
Yeah,
and Danielle, if I was a camper, I would be, but I just can't get. I was on one bad camping trip.
Like I'm already looking at which one I want to buy.
There you go. Great.
You're amazing. Danielle. I'm looking at them too. I should be paying attention to these
That's
guys.
awesome.
I'm like, huh? You're great. You have a really good product.
Maybe it'll convert me. But neither my wife or I are campers, so not your ICP. But
this is
really
terrific,
cool
though.
direction.
We get you
Yeah,
outside one of these tents, Anthony.
That's the move right there. That's a great product will turn non-users into users.
Chris, I did used to dream that I was both a wigwam and a teepee. Doctor said I was 2 tents. Sorry. I think that's 3 days in a row I've had that joke. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that's good dad jokes. I'll have one for you.
Sorry about that, everybody. All right. You know where to find us. Just go to howtofounder.com and follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you liked it, make sure you hit that subscribe button for us. And we will see you all next time. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Alex and Danielle, again. See you, Chris.